Those of you who have been in the Amiibo scene long enough know that sometimes I say or do things that cause harm to people, and I never mean to do that. So I've realized that I was wrong, and I'd like to apologize. I'm sorry, little one. Bowser's Super... Come on, that was funny. Bowser's Super Slam 2 was just hosted. This was a tournament meant to test... Bowser was legal, right? This was a tournament meant to test how broken is Bowser still. Now, Bowser's been banned since, like, what? May of 2019, maybe? No, not maybe. Later than that. Point is, end of 2019, I think, somewhere around those lines, Bowser has been banned, okay? Actually, if you've seen Splicestream's Amiibo Has a Bowser Problem, you'll know what I'm talking about. That video came out, I think, a month after the fact. Well, so this tournament was meant to test the argument that Bowser is no longer ban-worthy, that the meta has advanced, and that Bowser is no longer broken as hell. I've been taking notes on the brackets, as you can see here, and I've come to a couple of conclusions. First, I recommend you check in the description below after you've made your pilgrimage to amiibodoctor.com and liked and subscribed the video. Sorry. Go check out the bracket yourself, see what it is that I'm talking about, okay? So for my data, I took the top 5 best Bowsers that placed well in the tournament. That's 3rd place, 5th place, 9th place, 13th place, 17th place, respectively. Those are the top 5 Bowsers. And I looked at who they beat and who they lost to, okay? I haven't organized this by the trainer specifically of who beat what, that sort of thing. I'm just looking at the characters with one exception. So these are the characters that Bowser's lost to at least once of these top 5 over the course of the tournament. Hero lost 3 times to Hero. Lost twice to Ridley. So he went 1-3 against Hero. Bowser went 3-2 against Ridley, 3-1 against Ness, 5-2 against Snake. Okay? There were a couple of small ones like Captain Falcon and Robin. Those were just one-time things. I didn't anticipate that those would return, and they didn't. So that's really only 4 characters that Bowser fought consistently enough and lost to in order to have any real data. Okay, I set the minimum for that at 3 matches, by the way, although there were not many 2-match encounters. That's incredibly surprising considering Bowser beat me Sword Fighters, Heroes, Kirby's, Zelda's, Ness's, a lot of Ness's, Olimar's, Link, Ganondorf, everything, like the whole rest of the gauntlet Bowser beat. The only Amiibo that Bowser has a losing matchup to is Hero, based on this data. We're not including Incineroar, by the way. Incineroar hard counters Bowser. Everybody knows that. If you know, you know. But here's the interesting thing. It's not any hero. It's Merbert's Hero. Merbert's Hero, specifically, is a Bowser counter. Merbert's Hero beat 3 Bowsers and won the whole shebang, okay? 90% win rate. So, I mean, Hero counters Bowser, maybe, if it's like Merbert's. Beating 3 different Bowsers trained by 3 different trainers is a really good sign of being some sort of positive matchup. Maybe not a counter, but some sort of positive matchup. But then we've got to see how Merbert trains his hero. Merbert, Sugar Plum, Baby. Won't you help out the meta and show us how? That was probably one of the most ugly things you've ever seen. Not the point. Point is, I don't see that Bowser necessarily has counters beyond Hero. But I looked up the win rates for each one. They averaged out across those 5, they averaged out to a 75% win rate. Now, if you remember way back when, most of you probably weren't in the scene back then, but if you remember, Bowser had an 80% average win rate in every tournament set that he entered. Okay? No matter whose Bowser it was. So if you went up against a Bowser in bracket and you weren't Bowser, because remember, Incineroar didn't exist yet, he was banned like, oh, that's right, I think it was October 2019, I want to say, something along those lines. There was an 80% chance that you would lose, regardless of whose Bowser it was, and that was dragged down by some bad Bowsers, and that was pulled up by some great Bowsers. Point is, 80% chance. Well, now, based on these 5 Bowsers, there is a 75% chance that you're going to lose in bracket. So this tells me two things. First, these are the top 5, right? These are the best of the best, at least in this tournament, okay? This tells me that, yes, Bowser does seem to be slipping slightly, okay? Slightly. If you take the best of the best and they're slipping 5% down from an average that included everyone before, including the bad ones, okay, Bowser's slipping. But if he's legal, he's the best legal amiibo in the game. Amiibo Doctor, I don't think he's the best legal amiibo in the game. He's the best legal amiibo in the game. One of the nice things about getting strong is that you can like hit yourself harder and then... Anyway, not the point. I will say there was one glaring bracket omission. I didn't see any time when any of these 5 Bowsers went up against a King K. Rool. There's been some argument recently that King K. Rool is S tier, which is a BS argument. There's no way he's better than Bowser. So we're going to have to see in separate tournament brackets, how does Bowser do against King K. Rool? So, in conclusion, I don't know for sure if Bowser's A+ tier. He's not as good as he used to be. He might not be S tier anymore. I didn't used to be open to that possibility because salt is a very prevalent force in the Amiibo meta, and sometimes people make claims because they're salty. But Bowser is slipping. Bowser is definitely slipping. Now, I will say something. There's been some discussion about the optimal Bowser, about how the optimal Bowser in October 2019 may not be the optimal Bowser in March 2021. It's been a year and a half. I understand the argument. I don't think the optimal Bowser has changed. I actually don't. I think the optimal Bowser is still the same basic idea. If you go to amiibodoctor.com and read the Bowser guide written by Blank, I think that pretty well outlines what the best Bowser looks like. So, Bowser's slipping, but I don't think that's because he's necessarily suboptimal. I haven't seen these Amiibo specifically. I'm not familiar with Clockwork's Bowser or Some Guy's Bowser, or Zoom's Bowser for that matter. There's 3 of the 5 I'm not familiar with. They might not be optimal, or they might be different. I don't know. But I think Bowser's slipping.